¿Cómo están? Buenas tardes, buenos días en Australia. Martín, ¿cómo estás?
Buenos días, ¿cómo te va, Eduardo? Buenas tardes para vos.
Bien, muy bien. Le estaba comentando a Martín que venía corriendo porque después de casi un año no había visitado la maqueta donde nos juntamos. No es propiamente un club ni nada, es la maqueta de un compañero y hoy finalmente mi hijo y yo pudimos estar ahí un rato. La verdad, algo bien, pero andaba corriendo y se me había olvidado que teníamos esto, entonces todo el día andaba corriendo, se me complicó, pero bueno, ya estamos aquí. Y, y tú, Martín, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo has estado? ¿Qué me cuentas allá?
Bien, bien, todo tranquilo. Acá por primera vez o por segunda vez en lockdown o el encerramiento por el COVID en
Ajá.
Australia, en el estado donde vivo. O sea, subieron casos diarios de 3, 4 por día a 800 y cerraron todo Sydney y todo alrededor. Así que no acostumbrado a estar encerrado, pero bueno, sobreviviendo.
Y acá, desgraciadamente, digo, la comparación es diferente. Tú tenías 800, acá teníamos, creo, 800 en una delegación. A nivel, nas- a nivel nacional nos fuimos, creo que a 20,000 casos al día en contagios y igual todo. No van a cerrar la economía ni nada, pero vamos a continuar y pues, hay que seguirse cuidando del cubrebocas y todo esto, entonces no va a cambiar mucho. Pero sí,
No,
bueno, el consejo para todos los que nos ven en cualquier parte del mundo, pues bueno, no se no se descuiden, síganse cuidando, aunque estén vacunados. A mucha gente que conozco les ha dado, el daño es menor con la vacuna, no se van a hospitalización. Y también he conocido casos que no se quisieron vacunar y sí llegaron a hospitalización y casos graves, ¿no? En alguno. Pero bueno, eso es otro tema drástico del mundo. Oye, entonces, ¿y ustedes allá cómo lo están viviendo, Martín?
ah, bien, 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 tranquilo, o sea, en el área donde vivo yo no hay casos, o sea, esto es más que nada Sydney y un poco de New South Wales regional, que es el estado, pero bueno, decidieron cerrar, así que bueno, el trabajo me mandaron a trabajar desde casa hace ya 4 semanas y suspendieron todas las actividades prácticamente, o sea, no nos podemos mover un radio de 5 kilómetros, ir al supermercado una sola persona y solamente salir 1 hora, 2 horas de ejercicio y ya está.
Pues,
Eh, ayuda al hobby, así que le estoy
sí,
dando duro.
el año pasado mucha gente decía eso en los clubs de Estados Unidos que no había problemas, o sea, siempre hay algún proyecto o algo que terminar,
Oh,
algún carro que arreglar y, pues, bueno, cada quien trata de sobrevivir como se puede
sí,
y, pues, bueno, vamos a llevar esto lo mejor posible.
seguro, seguro.
Oye, por otro lado, estaba pensando, hace un par de meses platicamos con nuestros amigos de Tren Rodante,
Correcto.
eh, obviamente ellos se dedican mucho a la parte, en español totalmente, el trenes argentinos y por ahí de repente meten algo europeo. Y el día de hoy, vamos a ver pues, podemos decir contraparte, en el sentido que los trenes son totalmente americanos,
Ujú,
y empezó como una revista,
sí.
luego se expandió, tenemos ya, series de videos, clínicas y muchas otras cosas, que realmente sirven. A mí en lo personal me han ayudado. Cuando
Mm,
empecé en el hobby, pues no hay mucho donde encontrar. En YouTube hay muchos comentarios en inglés, pero alguna revista dedicada o algún canal dedicado. Incluso hay un programa mensual donde sale el famoso Ken Patterson.
correcto.
Mucho las cosas que he tratado de aprender, pues las he copiado de él y realmente tratas de pulirlo, pero detrás de todo esto pues, siempre hay un editor en jefe, alguien que
Correcto.
es quien es el que, digamos, coordina toda esta idea y hoy nos complace el que esté con nosotros para platicar un poco cómo se creó, dónde está y hacia dónde vamos.
Mm,
Y me estoy refiriendo a la revista MRH, Model Railroad Hobbit Magazine, y estamos hablando del editor en jefe, Joe Fugate, que ahorita vamos a darle la bienvenida. Déjame ver si ya está por aquí.
sí, para mí, te comento, es uno de los, sin falta de respeto a nadie, de los próceres del modelismo. O sea, yo empecé con con sus videos en DVD, en su layout, cuando hizo sus seis DVDs sacó. Él quise imitar el layout en forma de hongo, pero no me salió. Y yo lo considero realmente uno de los próceres del ferromodelismo en general, con técnicas que hace 15 años eran avanzadas, y el tiempo y la dedicación que le puso al hobby y cómo lo hace crecer. Es una de las personas que ilumina el ferromodelismo, realmente.
Y sobre todo técnicas, en su revista tú puedes mandar algunos artículos, los publicas, haces preguntas. Creo que eso es lo importante. Obviamente es en inglés, pero incluso aunque tú no sepas leer o hablar bien el inglés, tú puedes leer la revista o ver un video y entiendes. Hay procesos que los explican muy bien. El show de Ken Patterson lo ponen en fotografías, y cuando hace una escenografía vas viendo lo que hace. Cuando alguien hace un weathering, lo puedes ver. Y obviamente es una fuente de inspiración y de compras. Hay muchos proveedores que tú no conoces que se anuncian en la revista, y es importante que los veas en un video. Por ahí algún día puse dónde comprar trenes. Sí. La MRH tiene un catálogo muy grande de proveedores, que entonces se lo recomendamos a todos. Creo que entregas a nivel mundial, y muchas veces cosas que no sabes quién las hace, en esta revista puedes encontrar varios proveedores.
Sí. Aparte es accesible, el precio es bueno, o sea, es internacional, o sea, obviamente hacer por internet, ¿no? Pero, sí. O sea, la mística que ha creado esta revista y la era digital, creo que es el mejor producto de la era digital. Y después tiene su show de televisión de Train Master TV también, o sea, maestros de trenes en TV, sería.
Sí, y creo que la inscripción es muy barata. Ahorita le vamos a preguntar a Joe.
2,99 si mal no recuerdo.
Así es.
Y el formato, y tiene doble edición, la gratuita y la que se paga. Así que bueno, le podemos preguntar a él que nos explique.
Perfecto. Pues bueno, bienvenidos a las personas que estamos viendo. Sabemos que luego se complica por los horarios. Ya saben que este video queda en el streaming, tanto en el canal de Union Pacific y el de YouTube de Just for Fun Trains. Ahí vamos, están. Pero demos la bienvenida. Vamos a ver a Joe Fugate. Hello, Joe. Welcome.
Welcome. Thanks.
How are you?
Hello.
I'm doing very good.
Martín, ¿te quieres presentar?
Yeah. Hello, Joe. Good morning here from Australia. I'm Martin, and I was saying to Eduardo and to everyone here, you are one of my heroes. I started Model Train thanks to you and your DVD collection, from your Southern Pacific layout, the mushroom one. Yes, and I'm very, very happy, very glad to have the chance to talk with you this morning, or this afternoon for you.
Yes. Well, it's all different times all around the world, and it's interesting as you bring that up. When I look at model railroad hobbyists, we have through Google Analytics the ability to see who visits our site regularly, and 30% of the people who visit our website are not from the United States.
Yeah.
México es uno. Acaba de decir Joe Fugate algo muy importante. 30% de las personas que visitan el site MRH no son de Estados Unidos. Y le digo, México es uno. Yo me incluyo. Estoy seguro que muchos compañeros en Argentina y en otros lugares lo visitan. Y Martín le acaba de decir que, bueno, es una de las inspiraciones principales para él, y al principio lo comentamos. Si quieres, Martín, tú empieza con las preguntas de, ya sabes, normales, quién es Joe Fugate y todo eso, y nos vamos como siempre.
Bien. Ok, le voy a preguntar sobre su vida y cómo empezó en el hobby y toda esa historia. Joe, the first question we have for you is very simple. Your introduction into the hobby, how you started, just a brief description of your life in the model railroad, and any personal. I know you have a very interesting story. I've been following your broadcasts or when you participate in a few, but yeah. An introduction to the hobby first could be good for us.
Okay. Well, I actually grew up in Southern Oregon in the United States, right next to the Southern Pacific Siskiyou line, which, although it's a branch line, it actually used to be the main line back when the Southern Pacific first went into Oregon, and then in the late 20s they built the Willamette Pass route. Yeah. So, but anyway, they ran big lumber trains, and I thought it was the main line as a kid because they ran 100-car trains with 5, 6, 7 units on the front, sometimes mid-train helpers. It was a big operation. Only in later years did I find out, as I learned more about the Southern Pacific prototype, that it was not actually the main line. But yeah, I got railroading in my blood, so to speak, as a result of that. And so then it was in 1967 when I discovered Model Railroader magazine at a hobby shop. And then it just went from there.
Oh. Déjame traducir un poco. Let me translate, Joe. Bueno, en 1967 fue el último que dijo, en una tienda de hobby donde descubrió el ferromodelismo y de ahí siguen adelante. De chico, se me fue el estado donde me dijo que en Oregón, que vivía al lado de las líneas donde veía muchos trenes de madera, ¿no? Eran
de logging, sí.
De logging, sí. Y que para él pensaba que era el mainline, o sea, no sabía que era, pues bueno, una vía alterna, no era la vía principal, pero que pues prácticamente nació al lado de la vía. Siskiyou Line, ¿verdad? Era la donde... Así es, y ahí es donde prácticamente empezó este amor, pero prácticamente es de las personas afortunadas que nace y tienes una vía muy cerca. En la Ciudad de México en especial es complicado. Yo sé que en algunas zonas de Bajío y otras de México prácticamente sales y ahí está el tren, pero bueno, en la Ciudad de México es más complicado. La siguiente pregunta, next question. ¿Te parece que la haga yo? Le voy a apuntar de...
Sí, vamos una y una, sí.
Okay, next question, Joe. What is your favorite, well, I believe I know the answer, but it's okay. What is your favorite scheme in real life and in scale? I don't know if HON or C. What is your favorite scheme?
So by that you mean my favorite paint scheme prototype?
Yeah,
okay.
That's correct.
Obviously, it's the Southern Pacific. I love the gray and scarlet. But I also like the Black Widow scheme. They phased that out. I think in 1955 was when the gray and scarlet became the new paint scheme. But it took 10 years for the Black Widow scheme to completely disappear. I can remember as a kid in the 60s seeing an occasional locomotive come through that still had a very dirty Black Widow paint scheme on it.
Oh, Black Widow was part from South Pacific?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a black, orange, and silver paint scheme, and then they have what I call daylight red paint stripe around the bottom of the running boards.
Ok, let me translate. Le pregunté cuál era su esquema favorito en la vida real y prototípico. Obviamente Southern Pacific y en específico la parte es Black Widow, pero bueno, es Viuda Negra. Y nos estaba comentando que hay 3. Es el naranja, orange, Black Widow. ¿Y cuál fue el tercero, Martín, perdón?
Es la combinación de colores.
La combinación,
¿verdad? La locomotora es negra y tiene una línea naranja y una línea o un par de líneas plateadas. O sea, es un muy bonito esquema. Muy bonito esquema. Y es único, o sea, es el, digamos, más diferente del clásico de Southern Pacific que se usó. O sea, en la transición entre Steam era a Diesel, es una de las primeras que tuvo.
So if I can share my screen, I can show you a Black Widow.
Oh, yeah, that would be great. Vamos a ver un esquema del Black Widow que la tiene. Ok. Go ahead, Joe.
¿La tenés que invitar o por el...
No, hicimos la prueba. Le aparece ahí el share screen. Ahí está. Y ahorita yo lo voy a poner.
There you go. That's Black Widow paint scheme.
I believe Rapido launched this scheme. Is that correct? Te pregunto que si Rapido lanzó esta máquina. Se me hace lo vi, no sé.
Might. The more modern paint scheme.
That's a classic one.
El típico, clásico. That's the classic color that we all know.
With some weathering.
Yes, beautiful.
Así es. Sí, algunos amigos en México les gusta este Southern Pacific. I'm saying that in Mexico we have many fans from this scheme, the gray one.
Well, in my case, Joe, I model Union Pacific and obviously Southern Pacific in the patched version. I have a few there. I love the scheme, and it's one after UP is one of the favorite schemes. Southern Pacific, yes. Decía que yo cuando hago mis trenes de UP tengo algunos de ese esquema con el patch, con el número de UP, o sea, el patch amarillo. Pero bueno. Joe, my question for you now is, okay, about your layout. Obviously, we know that layout is no more. you move from your house and you decide to take it apart. But could you tell us a little about the history of that layout, when you started, the design, the mushroom design, and anything you can tell about that beautiful layout?
Okay, well, let me start in case people haven't seen some views of that layout. There was an article in Model Railroad Hobbyist magazine back in January 2016, and I'm going to try to bring that up for you.
Ok, Joe está comentando que va a poner unas fotos de su layout que apareció el 2016, enero 2016, en la revista, y bueno, ahorita las está buscando.
Es uno de los layouts más significativos de la era del modelismo porque fue el primero que utilizó, o por lo menos publicó sobre el diseño de hongo. El diseño de hongo es que uno puede construir un layout a dos niveles diferentes alrededor y gana mucho en espacio y la ilusión es como si fuera continuo. Es una obra de arte y ahí están las fotos.
Okay, so here's the cover of the January 2016 magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And this was just before I decided to go ahead and replace the layout with a new version. So I am in the process of starting a new layout. So, and it's still going to be the Southern Pacific Siskiyou line. And it's just use a modular approach this time. But let's jump ahead. So there is one of the scenes on the layout. It's a rock quarry.
Beautiful scene.
And let's see what else we've got there. Yeah, I tried modeling different freelance things as a kid. But here's where the Southern Pacific Siskiyou line runs. My version has the Coos Bay branch come out of Roseburg. The actual Coos Bay branch comes out of Eugene and down here. So, but the branch was originally planned to come out of Coos Bay to Roseburg. And so since Roseburg was the focal point on my layout, I thought I'm going to do what they were originally planning. I will make the branch come into Roseburg. So that made it more interesting, made the layout more interesting to have the branch. The mushroom design, as you mentioned.
Yes.
Here's what a mushroom design looks like. It's got an upper deck and a lower deck, but the upper deck faces the other way and use a raised floor. You get a similar relative height from the floor for the layout then. So it's sort of double decked, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, let me translate this. Platicó un poco, bueno, está enseñando el archivo, la revista donde habla de su layout, en la parte de Oregon, cómo se inspiró, la parte que estaba comentando que hizo varios modelos prototípicos de niño, y en el recuadro está donde está ubicado esta línea, Siskiyou, y prácticamente nos está comentando ¿era Roseboro?
Rosewood, de Rosewood a Coos Bay, ese es el branch line, exacto, y también nos explicó que ese es el tendido original, pero que iba desde la parte superior norte de Oregon también, o sea, el branch line se abría desde la parte norte.
Así es.
Y después nos mostró obviamente el diseño de mushroom o el hongo, que en realidad el efecto es un double deck, pero cuando uno lo va siguiendo es como que es continuo, o sea, no ves el doble deck, porque está invertido y está elevado a su vez. Es muy inteligente. Es a very smart design, ahí lo pueden ver. O sea, como la persona, o sea, en el mismo cuarto, como hay dos personas, pero uno no se ve al otro porque está montado de una manera. Por eso es la forma de hongo que hay muestra. Es espectacular, es muy inteligente.
Sobre todo es interesante porque muchos compañeros solamente a veces hacemos una maqueta plana y muchos
Correcto.
quieren añadir niveles y creo que esa puede ser una opción para las personas que lo puedan hacer.
Sí.
Okay, Joe, do you have more pictures? Le pregunto si más.
Mira,
Aquí está. That's nice.
This is the lower deck, which was the Coos Bay branch. So
Sí.
it came out of a helix down along the back wall, then it'll turn back and through Coquille into Coos Bay Yard, Coos Bay North Bend area right here. So that was the lower branch, lower part of the mushroom.
Yeah.
And then here's the upper branch. It starts here in Eugene, comes through Goshen, Cottage Grove, Rice Hill Summit, down through Oakland, Sutherland, crossed the bridge at Winchester through Roseburg. Then it went along a shelf here, big lumber mill in Dillard, and then back into staging, which represented Medford. So you might want to go ahead and talk about these two track plans.
Bueno,
si quieres, habla tú, la verdad son dos obras de arte.
Joe, I'm going to translate, and also, again, I'm going to be repeating on this one because I watch all the DVD series. I understand this. I understood very good the way it works. Para que entiendan todos, o sea, la foto que estamos viendo ahora o el plano que estamos viendo ahora es el nivel inferior, o sea, ese es el nivel que se vería en el hongo sin la plataforma, para hacerlo fácil. Y bueno, arrancaba obviamente desde la parte de Norbrand, que es una pequeña Coos Bay, donde se inicia el branch line, o digamos cerca del mar, por decirlo de una manera, y sube todo alrededor hasta la helix, que nos sube al segundo nivel. Ahí está el helix, nos está indicando. Yes, you go ahead. Yeah. And then, ahí pueden ver el segundo nivel, que sería el que tiene la plataforma, donde el operador no ve el primer nivel, obviamente, y ahí está la salida de la helix, Eugene, donde está el yard, va todo alrededor, llega hasta Oakland, y después vuelve donde tiene madereas, obviamente, muchas industrias, muy dinámico, muy, muy lindo de operar este layout. Joe, question for you. Why you decide to rebuild this layout or change it? What was the motivations to take apart this beautiful thing?
Well, it's 26 years old when I made the decision to replace it. At 26 years, a lot had advanced in the hobby. Plus, my wife and I were talking about what we wanted to do as retirement approached, and we really wanted to get some rural property. So we would need to sell this house. So to sell the house, the layout, you can't sell a house with a layout in the basement very well. I know people who've tried, it's never really worked well. So I told her, I said, well, really what's in the basement is dumpster fodder. So I've been talking about this Toma modular approach. Why don't we rip out the old layout, and then I will take the space that we have here and I can start building a new layout. And since it's modular, when we finally relocate, then we can just take it with us. The layout actually is not completely dismantled yet. And the likely date at which we're going to move is probably somewhere around 2025.
Okay.
So I will continue to finish dismantling the layout, and then I'm starting on the Toma version. I'm calling it Siskiyou Line 2.
Yes.
And then I can get as far as I can get on Siskiyou Line 2, and then when we finally move, I just take it with me.
Ok, I'm translate. Ok, yo le pregunté por qué decidió desmantelar este layout y obviamente la respuesta es muy simple, porque se piensa mudar a una diferente casa creo que el año 2025. Entonces lo que decidió es empezar a desmantelar el 6Q Line 1, como lo llama el original, y empezar a construir un layout en forma modular que lo llama 6Q Line 2, para cuando se muda puede obviamente moverse con ese. También un comentario que quizás pasa más en los Estados Unidos que en Latinoamérica o quizás en Australia, que cuando uno vende la casa, quizás quiera tratar de venderlo y con el layout incluido y no funciona. Me pasó a mí, me pasó a mí hace 3 años cuando me mudé y quería venderlo con el layout incluido, pero no pude y al final terminé vendiendo el layout aparte para poder mudarme a mi nueva casa. Así que
sí, y de hecho eso es muy, muy americano. Venden muchas casas con layouts, pero no los paga la gente, entonces es otra de las razones. Aquí vemos muchas fotos. Y por ahí mencionó la parte modular y toma, pero antes de entrar a eso, me gustaría preguntarle a Joe cómo se involucró en crear la revista. Digo, porque lo que estamos viendo es gracias a la revista.
Sí. ¿Me dejas hacerle una pregunta antes que nos vayamos
claro.
del layout? Joe, the other thing about your layout and, you know, how you make, you know, a lot of, let's say you were like you are a teacher in the model, and this layout was a good example of the evolution from DC to DCC. I remember very good a part when you explain a technique using little light, 12-volt lights to find a shortcut, how to, you know, do the wiring. So this layout was part of an evolution between DC and DCC, can I call this. So could you explain why you decide to show, let's say, obviously we understand why, but where you started to think, okay, I can share this knowledge to more people. Why you decide to open to the world with these old techniques?
I've always been a teacher at heart.
Okay.
And I also wanted to, first of all, it started actually in 2004 with experimenting with digital video, because digital video was coming, and I thought, you know, I might be able to learn digital video, which was just, it was an interest of mine, and then maybe make some videos of what I'm doing on the hobby along the way. So, and since I love to teach, thought this will be a way to kind of scratch that itch in a way, where I could teach and show people, because I love the hobby and love giving clinics and so on. So I thought, hey, I can do this. And then in 2009, we started Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine, and just went from there. So.
Let me translate that. Martín le preguntó qué lo motivó, que este layout era un gran ejemplo de cómo pasó DC a DCC, muchas técnicas, cómo fueron evolucionando, y le preguntó a Joe qué lo motivó a compartir. Y nos comenta que en el 2006, la era del video digital, le empezó a gustar, a experimentar, y él tiene en la sangre la parte de ser profesor, ser teacher, y dijo, pues de aquí soy, y así decidió en el 2009 empezar la revista. About the magazine, 2009, did you ever dream the evolution of the magazine? Because you start with a magazine, but today you have Master Train TV, you have the What's Neat program every month. It's a big evolution. Did you plan this or just happen in the road? Let me translate. Le acabo de preguntar que si algún día se imaginó que iba a estar la MRH donde está hoy, cuando empezó como una revista, y el día de hoy pues, hay videos, hay YouTube, Ken Patterson, muchas otras cosas. Esa sería la pregunta. Okay, Joe.
Okay, so
that's it.
Let's talk a little bit about Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. And it did start out as just the magazine. And then we added the store, Model Railroad Hobbyist Store, which lets people buy, not only can you buy DVDs of the videos, which is really where we started. We started with DVDs back in 2004. But then we also made downloadable videos. Then we started doing ebooks, did the magazine, paperback books. And then later, which we'll get into, is Train Masters TV. And in 2016, we actually incorporated it as MRH Media because it's all of these things. Okay. But let's talk about Model Railroad Hobbyists because, as I mentioned, I started in 2009. And it's interesting because when I started it, there was no such thing as an iPad, a tablet yet. Okay. But I noticed I made a post in late 2008. I said, there's a device coming. It will be about the size of a pad of paper. It'll cost about $300. And you'll be able to look at the magazine on this device. And I didn't know what to call it then. And the iPhone was invented in 2007. So it was only a little over a year old.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how close my guess would be. Just a couple of years later, in 2010, the iPad was introduced.
Wow.
Acabo de hablar un poco de la evolución. I'm translating what you said. Prácticamente el episodio 2009 y nos está comentando es la época alrededor cuando el iPad empieza a surgir. Él no la conocía como iPad. Realmente creo que el iPhone salió 2007, lo que estaba comentando. Y realmente, pues bueno, todo esto como que fue el perfect timing, el tiempo perfecto de lanzamiento y un poco la evolución. En el slide anterior, primero nos mencionó que obviamente empezaron como una revista, después se fueron a la parte de DVDs, que era algo muy importante, y después lo de Master Train TV, y ahí surge lo que es Media Railroad, o sea, que es todo el conjunto, y es donde nos lleva ahorita en este siguiente slide.
Es como el grupo se incorporó como fuera el grupo de media, digamos que es algo que abarca, es como un paraguas donde están todos los grupos. Y obviamente lo que dijo es la de series 2 DVDs en el 2004, creo que dijo, que digamos eso es cuando empezaron a explorar o expandirse con estos videos de enseñar. Y le voy a preguntar un tema de enseñar. Como ellos, digamos, la manera que explican es muy didáctica. Joe, one of the things is very nice from your videos and the people they help in the videos is the way you explain. You know, when you, the way, I'm going to refer to you because, you know, I'm talking in first person with you now. When you explain, for example, when you mix paint, you say one part water, one part paint, but the way, like I said, even for people like we don't speak a lot of English, or on that case, when I started, I didn't speak English at all, like 15 years ago. How easy was to understand your instructions, the way you explain. The other good example is about how you explain about operations. Your videos of operations really change. I think many people, I saw that here in Australia, where the people change the way to operate trains thanks to those DVDs. Oh. So again, I think that's where you say you are a teacher in your heart. So that helps a lot. So yes, it's a reflection. Your work reflects how you express and how easy it's for us to understand.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that the information is useful and it's coming across. You know, that's why I do it. Is I love the hobby and I want to help others enjoy the hobby as much as I enjoy it. So I just wanted to mention too, on Model Railroad Hobbyist magazine, I got the idea early on to make it ad supported.
Yeah.
And since I didn't have to do paper or shipping or any of that sort of thing, I thought, you know, I could probably just make this thing free.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we did. And, you know, so we've had the free Model Railroad Hobbyist magazine, and it's 150 plus pages, and we're up to issue 138 now. And, you know, of course it has ads in it, but a lot of people tell us they consider the ads to be content because we only do train stuff ads. We don't do ads for Hawaii vacations or razors or, you know, and there's probably over 25,000 pages now in the back issue library, and it's all free.
Wow.
Eso es, perdón, es muy importante. Lo acabo de mencionar, 25,000 páginas que tienen, que es gratis, van en la edición 138, pero algo que igual comenté creo al principio, los los anunciantes de la revista, los que leemos la revista, los consideramos parte de la revista, o sea, porque no están anunciando otra cosa, sino es todo relacionado a trenes. Entonces, cuando incluso tú ves un tren, tú dices, esta empresa hace esto, yo necesitaba esto, y eso es algo muy, muy, muy bueno que otras revistas no tienen, que estás leyendo tu artículo y te meten un artículo de vacaciones o de otra cosa. Entonces, creo que eso es importante.
Es como si fuera un buscador en uno, digamos, o sea, uno está viendo los artículos y tenés todo, y eso ayuda muchísimo porque ahorra tiempo, y bueno, obviamente, si estas personas recomiendan, en la revista uno sabe que puede comprar esos productos con tranquilidad.
One of the things I like to tell people is that we are modelers ourselves. And so we see ourselves as modelers helping modelers. And so we're always on the lookout, as this says, for better ways to do the hobby. And then basically MRH Media gives us a way to share what we find over the internet. So that's basically the heart of who we are.
Eso lo que dijo es muy importante, o sea, obviamente ellos son modelistas y hacen esto para modelistas, o sea que realmente ellos es una manera de compartir el hobby, que en realidad es lo que siempre decimos, o sea, esto es un hobby para compartir, no es una competencia, y ellos utilizan este medio para distribuir esa información y que descubren.
Ayer platicé un poco con Joe, previo a esto, y le estaba diciendo que uno de los objetivos de este canal y el tuyo y todo es esto, ayudarnos entre todos. Yo no me calificaría todavía como un modelista, yo sería más bien un fanático, un fan o un tipo aprendiz compartiendo. Pero en el caso de Joe, ellos sí son maestros realmente cuando ves su trabajo, modelistas realmente certificados, ayudando a otros modelistas. En México a veces es complicado los famosos cuentarremaches o rivet counter. Siempre hay gente que más que ayudar te intimida y te aleja del hobby. Pero totalmente de acuerdo a lo que dice Joe, modelers ayudando a otros modelers.
Yo creo que ahí te la voy a discutir más adelante, no con Joe ahora, pero somos todos modelistas y después están los maestros como yo. O sea, somos todos modelistas.
Eso es that's perfect. Say it in English. Que lo diga en inglés.
Sí. We're discussing here with Eduardo because he believes himself is not like a model, right? He's just learning. He's a learning person, and then in his head is then becoming the models and then the teachers or the master like you. And I say, no, we are all modelers. Then you have special people with special skill like masters like you, Joe. But everyone is a modeler. Basically, we are in the same level. Some people have more skills, and that's it. So yeah, Eduardo is no learner. We are learners, and I think all the masters they continue learning. It's not stop. It's no end. It's no.
See, now that's different from the way companies like Kalmbach work these days, because Kalmbach is a big, huge corporation now. They have lots of people working for them. And when I last talked to Kalmbach, they told me they hired journalists and teach modeling.
It's a different approach.
Different approach. Yeah, each approach works, but this is the approach we like to use. So, I also want to mention Running Extra, which is a few years ago. We, the number of pages we can put in Model Railroad Hobbyist, the ad-supported magazine, is limited by how much advertising revenue we get. And advertising revenue actually has dropped off some since 2016. And so we started looking at what could we do, because we kept getting really good submissions, article submissions from people. But, as the backlog grew, it's like we can't print these submissions fast enough. And so someone might submit something, it'd be 3 or 4 years before it would appear in print. And that's just too long. So we thought, well, we can't do ad supported because we've already doing that. So how about we create another magazine, actually make it an ebook with no ads, and call it Running Extra, which is a model railroading, which is an actual real railroading term, right? To have trains that run extra. So we thought that would kind of get the idea across. And so, yeah, this is our additional monthly that we produce. and this one is not free. I could go to the next page.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's not free. But it's $2.99 an issue, which is really cheap. So it has 100 so pages of extra stuff with no ads. And then as a convenience, we put the free Model Railroad Hobbyist in the back. So basically one download gets you everything that we produce that month.
It's very good. Like I say, $2.99 is like a cup of coffee. And you get all this information. It's amazing. Lo que nos explicaba ahí, Joe, es like, tienen una edición que es paga, que sale $3, por decirlo de una manera, y que es una versión más avanzada que se llama Running Extra, que es como una corrida extra, obviamente, y es una versión de la revista sin ads y como explican, digamos, algunas cosas más, digamos, de la versión original. O sea, la verdad que es una colaboración, $3, y uno obtiene esta cantidad de material que es irrisorio, $3 por todo esto.
Sí, y sobre todo comentaba la parte de que salió un poco de, creo 2016, bajaron un poco los ingresos y la economía, todo esto cambiado, y salió como una nueva forma de financiar con algo diferente, la parte de running extra o adicional, una corrida adicional, y por un precio muy accesible. Y de hecho ahorita se me vino a la mente, leí de unos problemas que por ahí publicó Scale Trend del shipping y de los costos y todo esto.
Sí.
Quería preguntarle un poco de Joe, de cómo le ha afectado la parte, pues la economía mundial ha cambiado, se ha afectado. ¿Cómo ha afectado los ingresos de la revista? ¿Cómo va? Joe, when you talk about the 2016 that you have different income, I remember that early today, I read something about Scale Trends that made a publish in, I believe, Facebook. They talk about the shipping costs. They talk about the problems they have in China. They have many issues due to COVID, due to pandemic. And I was wondering how the economy is affecting the magazine, the media company, not only the magazine, because we have many people who lost a job, who only reduce the income at the half, or simple, they don't have jobs. How this affect to the media company?
Okay, I can tell you how it's affected us. One other note, real quick, is if you want to save even more, you can subscribe to Running Extra, and if you subscribe, it's like $29, and then you get all the back issues too. So It's quite a good deal. So let's talk about how the changes in the economy are affecting us.
Oh, you were ready for this, for the question.
Yes.
Sí, ya no estaba planeado, le digo que ya lo tenía planeado la gráfica y todo.
I'm looking at hobby vendors here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones who care the most about this. But at first, our sales tanked really bad. But our readership, as you can see, has gone up. Orange is previous year, blue is this year. So basically, since people are, in lockdowns and having to stay home and working from home, all of those sort of things, they're looking for stuff to do from home. And so the end result is that compared to prior years, our readership is significantly up, and sales have recovered as well. For about the first 6 months of the pandemic, we weren't having very much sales. We even had advertisers cancel because they were all nervous. Everybody was uncertain what the future held. And so rather than spend their money, they weren't going to spend their money. So I had to lay off some people and we had to make some changes, cost-cutting changes, but that's all recovered now. And so this is what our numbers are looking like now. So it's doing real good. So there's your answer.
Congratulations. Al principio hablamos, Martín y yo, de eso, de la economía y todo eso, y del lockdown. y decíamos que a los que nos gusta el hobby no nos afecta, que siempre hay un proyecto o algo que hacer. Y esta gráfica que Joe nos comparte enseña eso. El azul que ven arriba es las ventas de este año, el naranja es el previous, la de el azul es superior. Y obviamente al principio, como decía él, le cancelaron patrocinios, tuvo que despedir a algunas personas, pero después se recuperó y para bien o para mal, la gente se ha volcado en sus casas a la revista y bueno, parece que el futuro se ve bien.
Yo creo que es el producto perfecto para el lockdown. O sea, no cabe duda que es como que es, obviamente, trabajando de casa, es todo en computadora, la distribución, no shipping, no contact. O sea, te ayuda muchísimo y es fácil de adquirir y obviamente económico también, ¿no? O sea, es un emprendimiento perfecto. Le voy a preguntar a Joe sobre cuánta gente trabaja y horas y todo eso.
Sí.
Joe, obviously this is a massive effort. So could you tell us how many people work on in the group? How many hours you spend? I guess it's the whole day. Yeah, some numbers about the showing the. You can show us the big effort all the people doing for this beautiful product.
There are only 2 full-time employees.
Okay.
My wife and me.
That's enough.
My wife is very good. She runs the office. She does the shipping when people buy stuff. She also is very good at paste up. So she, if we are producing the magazines and so on, she's the one that actually paste up everything in the paste up software. Now, that said, we do have a number of part-time people. They work for us as contractors.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have 3 guys who work on the advertising side and the product side. And then I have one other guy who does a lot of the online tech support, keeps the websites going. People say, I can't log in, I need my password reset, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And then we have 2 copy editors. And then we have 2 guys that work on the news. And these are not all necessarily different people. So for instance, one of the guys that helps with the advertising, helps with the tech support, and helps with the product news is all one guy. It's the same guy. Okay. And then we have what I call columnists or extended contributing editors, I guess the way to describe it. And they just write stuff for us now and then. And I would put Ken Patterson in that category as well, where Ken doesn't really write. He takes
something.
Video.
Yeah.
And we provide the text. He gives us enough information so that we know what we need to say, and then we'll write the text part. He's not really into doing text that much. But yeah, and then somewhere along the line, 2012, Ken approached me about doing his column What's Neat and shooting some video. And then he got the idea to, I think, let me think here, around 2020, to do this weekly video podcast. And What's Neat This Week. So he had a What's Neat show, and then he decided to do What's Neat This Week. So that's just taken off. And we have a number of sponsors who sponsor the YouTube stuff, and hobby vendors who sponsor that. So yeah, it's all working.
It's a small but efficient team.
Yes,
but it's massive too.
There's like 10 different people, all probably affiliated with it, but only 2 are full time.
That's incredible. Let me translate la primera parte. Eso me gustaría que sirviera de inspiración a muchas personas que nos ven, compartimos el hobby, que dicen, que piensan que las grandes corporaciones, este imperio mediático, me gusta llamarlo así, ha sido por dos personas de tiempo completo, Joe y su esposa. Después nos comentó que hay varias personas alrededor que van y vienen, 8 o 10 personas, y a veces creo que son los mismos en diferentes posiciones. Y habló obviamente de la parte de Ken Patterson, que se acercó con él en 2020, y la parte no solo del programa mensual, sino de su podcast. Pero lo que a mí me quedo de lo que dice Joe es la determinación y el entusiasmo de dos personas han creado, en el buen sentido, un imperio del ferromodelismo o del modelismo, que eso es algo admirable, ¿no? ¿Cómo ves, Martín?
Sí, sí, no, impresionante. Primero que nada, disculpas que a veces se está poniendo más negro porque una tormenta gigante acá y no pude ir a comprar la luz para reemplazarlo. Así que les pido disculpas que cada vez me estoy poniendo más negro. Joe, yeah, I was saying, Joe, sorry because I apologize for the light in my room. It's a big storm this morning, and because I'm locked down, I couldn't go and get a new light to replace it. So sorry for the way I'm transmitting, like horrible. Joe, obviously, you talk about this in podcasts, and people we can understand English, we follow you about how your products are helping the new generations. Okay, the youngster coming in the model railroad. So, how are you feeling? Is now the future of the, or how you're feeling about the future of the model railroad or the modeler, sorry, in the future? How your magazine is getting to reaching these people, the new generations coming?
Well, I think number one, if you are going to reach the younger generation of the hobby today, you need to be on YouTube.
Yeah, that's correct.
Well, I look on YouTube, for instance, if you go and start searching around on YouTube, you can find hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos where these young guys are sharing their latest find that they got at a hobby shop or a swap meet or something, you know, they got on eBay, whatever. And, you know, it's not much above running trains on carpet level quality, but they're thrilled, you know, and there's hundreds and hundreds of those videos on YouTube. And so things like Ken Patterson's What's Neat This Week is extremely popular. And I think we're reaching the next generation. I know, I'll tell you a couple of stories. You want to translate what I've said so far before I get into the stories?
Okay.
Sí. Yes, please. Le pregunté a Joe cómo la revista, o no la revista, vamos a llamar el grupo de media de él, ayuda a las nuevas generaciones y qué piensa sobre, obviamente, el futuro del modelismo. Y nos dice que hoy en día, si uno quiere alcanzar las nuevas generaciones, tiene que estar en YouTube. O sea, no hay opción sino en YouTube. Y que uno simplemente buscando en YouTube encuentra técnicas, videos y como la evolución del modelismo, que ya no hay más trenes sobre la alfombra simplemente, sino hay cómo compartir, donde encuentran nuevos modelos, hobbies o hobby shops y toda la historia. Yes, go ahead, Joe.
Okay, so this was really driven home to me. The YouTube thing was really driven home to me shortly after Ken started his What's Neat This Week. I was at a train convention. I think it was Train Fest in Milwaukee. And I took my lunch break. And whenever we take our lunch break, it's a rule. You can't do lunch in the booth. You have to actually leave the booth and go, you know, usually they have an area with tables and stuff. So I went and I got a sandwich, and there were these three young guys. They looked like 16, 17, 18 maybe, that were sitting at the table, and they were admiring their stuff that they'd gotten here at Train Fest. And so I walked up and I asked if I could sit down with them. They said, sure, fine. So I was listening to them, and they were talking about, you know, ooh, this one's got really great grab irons, and you know, look at this one's got the etched running boards, blah, blah, blah. And so I could tell that they understood the hobby. You know, they weren't just kids getting stuff for a train set, right? They actually apparently knew something about the hobby. So I said, hey, can I ask you a question? They said, sure. And I pointed to my shirt, MRH logo, and I said, so MRH, have you heard of us? They go, oh yeah, Ken Patterson's What's Neat.
Yeah.
All three of them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I go,
I remember that I saw the video because you talk about this show with Ken in one of the programs. I saw the same, and I said, "That's it. That's the impact of Ken. That's the impact of the media, of the video." And I just remember that I saw that video.
yes. And another story is I had a young fellow. I say he was young to me. He's probably in his 30s, but he had some like 2 or 3 kids in tow. You know, 6, 8, 10 ages, somewhere in that range, between 6 to 10. And so he walked up and he says, I just want to thank you for Ken Patterson's What's Neat. He said, we watch that show every week and we're starting a layout and we are having a ball.
El impacto de los videos, le está diciendo que le agradecían por el show de Ken Patterson, que lo ven y realmente es algo que llega a muchas personas. Lo vemos con los ratings que tiene Ken. Sí.
Sí, totalmente. Mira, le voy a compartir la historia con mi hijo, Nicolás. Joe, my son Nico, he's 16, and I started doing my layout and watching your DVDs when I was 24, and he was just born like a baby. And I think he watched the videos with me for 5 years, and then I sold your DVDs to a guy in Australia because very hard to get overseas your DVDs on that time. And yesterday when I was talking with him, I said, look, tomorrow I have an interview with Joe. Joe Fugate, and he didn't watch a lot, but he said, the mushroom guy. So the mushroom guy, he remember between 10 years, he follows obviously Ken Patterson and everything, but he remembers, characteristics of thanks to the videos and the media. And it's amazing. That's the connection you have through the models, and it's amazing. That's it is amazing. How kids connect thanks to videos.
Oh, it is. And I'll tell you another story too. I was invited as a guest to be sort of the main speaker at a train meet in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. So they paid my way, which was really nice. And I went and I made some presentations. I was sort of the local celebrity, Mm-hmm. And then they did some op sessions that night at various layouts. And so I wanted to go to one of the layouts. It was a larger home layout. And so I went. And when I walked in the door, here was this woman sitting here in the lounge, crew lounge. Found out later she was like the wife of the owner layout. As soon as I walked in the door, she goes, oh my God, it's him, the guy on the videos.
That's the impact that you have in many people.
Celebrities,
yeah. Believe it or not, you're a celebrity for many of us, because your videos and your work inspire to do what we do now, and we learn from all the magazines, from all the videos, from all the programs. And when you can share something with the people that create that stuff, is really nice. Let me translate this.
Okay.
Le está diciendo que realmente él es parte de las celebridades del ferromodelismo. Muchos crecieron con sus videos, con la revista y aprendiendo de todo lo que él transmite. Entonces, realmente cuando tú te lo encuentras o hablas con él, como es el caso de hoy, dices, estoy hablando con la persona que me inspiró, con la persona que yo vi un video. O sea, yo me leí muchas series, me metí a muchas revistas y dices, lo poco o mucho que sé, es gracias a la persona con la que estoy viendo en estos momentos. Entonces dije que quería compartir esto en español.
No, something, le voy a contar algo también, una pequeña anécdota sobre la gente cuando acá hubo una convención en Australia en el 2007, que fueron los 25 años de la NMRA, y vinieron celebridades del modelismo desde Estados Unidos, y como fue realmente como una sensación, o sea, realmente el impacto que ellos tienen, especialmente de la gente de Norteamérica, en el modelismo internacional es impresionante. Así que le voy a contar eso. Joe, something like I experienced myself in 2007 in Sydney, we had the 25 years of the National Model Railway Association. So a lot of people from the States came to Australia to celebrate. So like Tony, like Joe, I know Jules. I think he was the president of the NMRA in the US, and that convention in Sydney was like 500 people, like coming from all Australia and from New Zealand just to meet them, because it's like a really celebrities like a more like a I don't like that one. I call them masters of inspirational people, and really the way people from North America inspire the rest of the world. You don't know. I say this the dimension you have in the rest of the world is amazing. It is amazing. It's true, like I say.
So, can we talk about the videos just for a bit?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so go ahead and turn on the screen share. So, the store is where you get a lot of that stuff. And one of the great masters whose videos I really love is Mike Confalone. He has some really great weathering videos that he's done for us. There's a couple of those. One is rail cars, locomotives. Then we do some prototype stuff as well. And then these are really popular. We have 5 layout tours videos now. There's a couple. You might recognize him if you know anything about the hobby. It's George Salios.
Yes, amazing.
He's in one of them. And then another Mike Confalone where he does scenery. You just look at that scenery. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a powerful scene. That's amazing.
The weather and everything.
And then guess who?
Yeah, of course.
The mushroom guy.
The mushroom guy. There's my video series. That's still available if you want to get it. And then we also do ebooks and paperback books. And there's one on building a HO locomotive, steam locomotive from brass and styrene. And then we also have a book on acrylic painting. On the MRH site, you can get this book for free. Or if you want a paperback, you can get it that way. And then I have my Run Like a Dream series, which I'm working on. The first 2 books are done. The locomotives book should be out next summer. And so that's the other thing you can do is you can visit the store, and it's store.mrhmag.com. And then you mentioned Trainmasters TV. Yes. So that we started that in 2013. And I think I talk a little bit about how it got started. Yeah, Barry Silverthorne came to me. He said, I had this idea for a TV show called Wheels on Steel. And I pitched it to the network execs. They weren't really all that keen on it. So he says, you're like one of the biggest digital publishers in the hobby. How about we do a model train TV channel? Call it Trainmasters TV. And so I said, hey, that's a great idea. Let's do it. So we have new segments that come out on Trainmasters TV roughly weekly. It's a paid thing, so there's no ads really. Although we do have some sponsor mentions, we do have vendor profiles and product demos, but they're not really ads. I tell the vendors, I don't want an infomercial. I want you to show me some how-tos. Okay. Yes. And we have all kinds of different segments on there. Prototype, layout tours, different clinics where we have guests talk about how to do stuff. I have a couple of samples if you want to see them.
Yeah.
So let's see if we can get this to work.
On this edition of Trainmasters TV, childhood memories down by the tracks.
The train came at least once a day, and we were typically down by the tracks to watch it come in. It was a great playground.
Modeler Miles Hale takes us back to the basement.
Here we see the end result of all this preparation. The walls are smoothed together, and the illusion of depth is impressive. Now that I've built the Psych and painted the sky blue, it's time to add some details.
And Streamliners on parade.
It's a dream come true to see all these locomotives in one place, and in some cases you're seeing locomotives that people have never seen before.
Es todo un abanico de opciones, DVDs, videos, revista, papel. Creo que cualquiera que quiera involucrarse de más y aprender tiene que estar ahí, tiene que ver la revista y la verdad muy recomendable estar en Train Masters TV y es realmente increíble. O sea, yo repito, 2 personas es la base de todo lo que están viendo. Obviamente muchas colaboraciones, pero creo que es un buen punto para todos los que quieren empezar o mejorar en el hobby.
Y la calidad. La calidad de todo, sonido, imagen. Realmente hay mucho tiempo, mucho esfuerzo en esto. O sea, no, es increíble. Es increíble.
Joe, we just said about the quality, the time, that we have different options, video, we have paper, we have YouTube, Train Master TV, and all thanks to two people, your wife and you. That's really amazing. Obviously, many people around you, but you are the foundation from all this media empire, I would like to say, hobby empire. It's really amazing, and thank you very much to do this.
Okay. I wanted to show one other sample because in the era of the pandemic, it's harder to do studio segments where we have guests on. So we're doing a lot more what we call one-off videos where it's just someone talking to the camera.
Yeah.
Okay. And so one of our latest new additions is a segment we call Jimmy's Trainworks. And he gets into particularly a lot of technology stuff. So he talks about Arduinos, and in this particular sample, he's starting a new series where he's getting into 3D printing for the hobby. So let me play this sample here.
Today, like I said, it's 3D printing. Now, first of all, what is 3D printing and how does it work? The basic way that 3D printers work is they use some sort of medium, whether it is a plastic or it is a resin, and they build models that are designed on a computer layer by layer until they have the completed object. Now, there's obviously some more complicated things that go with that, but that's the basics of how 3D printing works. Now, today we're going to be talking about the printers themselves and which ones and which types you should consider getting depending on your scale, depending on what you want to accomplish, these types of things. So let's go ahead and get into it.
That's a great topic. We need an entire show to talk about 3D.
Yes, 3D printer. Yeah.
Yes, I think we do. We have a lot of things coming to Train Masters TV too. We have this guy is Electronics Whiz, and he's doing a whole bunch of clinics for us. And then this guy is a great scenery modeler and great modeler in general, and he's doing a bunch of new segments for us. Then we are able to get, it's harder now, but we are able to get an occasional layout. So I have Charlie Comstock, who is Bear Creek. People who have been a reader with us for a while will know about this layout. I'm going to go visit Charlie. He's 40 minutes for me.
Okay.
And we're shooting some footage of his latest scenery work. He's got a lot of new scenes on that layout, so that's going to be really coal.
Déjame decirle una idea, Joe, a ver qué le parece. Sería a ver si estas personas se animan a hablar con nosotros e introducir los videos y después lo pueden bajar y ver de esta revista o del Train Master. Joe, I was thinking just quick, outside of the box, maybe could be good if you connect us with these people, for example, Charlie, and he can talk with us one day when we we can present the video into the Spanish talking people, and then that way we can connect people to watch and download the videos from TrainMaster. So could be good to create a connection and trying to bring close these people to, with the translation in the middle.
Sure, I think that would be great. It depends on the person. Jeff, I think, would be great. Greg would be wonderful. Charlie, although he's a great modeler, he gets really nervous when he has to present, even when he's online. And so it kind of depends on how comfortable he feels. Then Rick Sutton, the guy who's doing this modeling, this is all models. And he's like, he takes photos and then he uses a Cricut cutter to cut photo stuff and does photo lamination to create 3D effects. And it's interesting. But Rick is not comfortable at all being on a camera, and he might struggle even being on a webcast. So
no. Of course, like I say, could be good, like I say, because I think there's a lot of material here. People they don't have access because obviously the language barrier or anything. But when you introduce somebody, and we notice that, it's like this should be, everyone should in the hobby should watch this video. So just an idea, and I think Eduardo with things like me, like we are happy to do it, of course.
Yeah, it just depends on the person.
Yeah, of course. Nice.
That's great. I have another questions. Many people always talk about the economy, about how expensive is the hobby, and we are looking for something to share with the young people when they try to start. Not always is the best option to get the most expensive DCC sound engine. Sometimes it's good to have I don't know, perhaps all Atron, only DC, to know all the how it works, the engine, the lights, and then slowly evolutionate to the expensive, the DCC Tsunami 4.3 Paragon 4, over $300. What is your advice for these people, considering, well, they don't have an income, they are teenagers, but they love the trains? What is the best option, like swap meetings, or what is your advice for these people?
eBay is a good one.
Okay.
There's a lot of older used equipment sold on eBay. One day I decided to just kind of do a search and decided I was going to try to find a locomotive that was somewhere in the $50 range. And I found dozens and dozens of locomotives on eBay. They were older equipment, used equipment. But hey, compared to a new locomotive, you get a new locomotive without sound, it's usually $125, $150. You get one with sound, it's going to be $200 to $300 with sound. But $50 for a locomotive on eBay is great. And rolling stock, I decided I want to see how much rolling stock I can find for under $20 and look around. Number one, AccuRail sells kits new for under $20.
20. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
And I've found some cars from AccuRail for $12 to $15. And of course on eBay you can find anything. I've found stuff under $10, under $10. And it's older stuff, but with a little bit of simple upgrades, like put KD couplers in cars. Buy some of that cheap stuff, put some KD couplers on them, put KD couplers on the locomotive, and you're good. Now, as far as DCC, you can get DCC starter systems, the NCE Power Cab and the Digitrax Zephyr are both good starter systems, and they're $150. And then you'll be off and going. When people have a small layout, I've seen a suggestion that if you have 1 or 2 locomotives and a small layout, that you just do straight DC. That's true. You can do straight DC. But I will tell you, if you move up to DCC, now you have the ability to tune your locomotives so that they run really nicely. You can set the starting voltage, you can set the mid voltage, you can set the top speed, you can put kickstart. There's kickstart features and back EMF features in the locomotives, and you can really get something that runs really nice. You know,
Okay.
so,
Let me translate that.
Sure.
Le pregunta un poco la introducción de la economía. Mucha gente dice que hay máquinas que son caras realmente, arriba de $200, $300, y muchos jóvenes, adolescentes, los teenagers, que quieren entrar. Así que, ¿cuál es la recomendación? Y nos da muy buenas. La primera es eBay. Buscar, que encontró una gran variedad de máquinas por menos de $50. La conversión, dependiendo de su país, pues, lo pueden hacer ustedes. Y algo que es cierto, menciona la marca AccuRail para carros de carga, que incluso nuevos de AccuRail los puedes conseguir por menos de $20. Yo por ahí compré unos y es cierto, pero incluso los llego a encontrar hasta $10 o $12. Esta es una pregunta que hacen muy, muy seguido en los videos de dónde los puedo comprar y que sean más barato. Entonces creo que Joe nos da una buena alternativa. eBay, máquinas de menos de $50 usadas. AccuRail, nuevos o usados, muy bien. Y de los kits, para empezar, el que yo siempre recomiendo, NC Power Cab, y también el de Digitrax, no me acuerdo cuál, pero hay un kit.
El Zephyr.
El Zephyr.
Es el DC52 que antes existía.
Exacto. Esos 2 kits son los que él recomienda para empezar. Y obviamente estaba diciendo que ya cuando entras a la parte de CC te vas a dar cuenta que puedes modular la velocidad, la media,
Exacto.
la alta, luces, muchas otras cosas. Pero
Y
nos quedamos con ese consejo. Se me hizo muy bueno para las personas que siempre preguntan.
Y lo otro, lo que dijo también es el agregar detalles, o sea, en un vagón viejo, como uno agregando enganches nuevos y algunos detalles.
Yeah.
También me gustaría decirle, Joe, weathering too. Today, you know, just buy a few paints, or if you can, you know, a cheap airbrush, and that changed everything. I say just a little of weathering makes an older model fantastic, and that's give the time and the connection with the model railroad too. So it's spend time with that old car and make it better. You know, it's not difficult these days, and following, you know, the Train Master TV's examples and videos.
Exacto.
So you learn from them and then apply into the car.
Así es. La última parte que mencionó Martín, un poco de desgaste o el weathering, ya vimos las clases con Mike y ven que hay muchas técnicas, entonces eso agrega siempre detalles a máquinas.
Es barato, y es barato.
Y barato. ¿Algo más quisieras preguntar, Martín, antes de cerrar? ¿Qué traes en mente algo?
No, le voy a agradecer por realmente por todo lo que hace, el esfuerzo, y que realmente que bueno que continúen y que vean que el modelismo tiene futuro. Joe, just simple from me to end this video. Thank you very much for everything, really. Your passion, your passion for the model railroad, for teaching, for bringing this fantastic work to everyone, and how again, you put this to the young generation like it's the future. Really, nobody wants to the hobby to finish with us. Must continue in the time, and really, I really appreciate what you're doing, and happy to be there in your list of following your videos and everything you do.
Good. I'm glad to help, and glad to hear that you guys find that it's all useful.
Yeah.
Something else would you like to add? Is something would you would like to say, Joe? You are free.
Gee, that's interesting. I know that I've had questions from people. Often they ask about what's the future of the hobby look like in terms of things ahead. I think if you look at the younger generation, the millennials, as they're sometimes called, that generation is actually larger in number than the baby boomers generation was. So we have, baby boomers, and we had Generation X, which was a small generation, and then now the millennials, they're larger than the baby boomers. And I personally think that trains were a fad in the 1950s and 60s, a fad toy. And so they were more popular than normal during that time period. But if you look at companies like Reuters, who tracks different news trends and so on, since 2005, Reuters has regularly had articles on train sets. And so just by a marketing 101 example, what they'll tell you is the bigger the number of people, the more you'll sell, because there's more people to buy, right? So if there's if the millennial generation is larger than the baby boomers, then and I have also seen there's movements like the maker movement, which is let's unplug, let's do stuff with our hands. And so parents are looking for toys for their kids that involve doing things with your hands. And what better than trains? So sales of train sets are up. The maker movement means that model railroading is a great hobby for the kids to actually be doing stuff with their hands. So I think the future is brighter than ever for the hobby in terms of the trends. And and like I said before, you can see on YouTube that there's lots of kids on there that are fascinated with trains, and they're making videos and posting them on YouTube.
Totally agree. Totalmente de acuerdo. Lo que está compartiendo Joe, un poco de su visión del futuro, comenta que la generación de millennials y todo esto en números son más grandes que las que éramos de la X y baby boomers. Los padres que quieren que sus hijos hagan algo como más de movimientos con las manos, que hagan, y yo que luego me la paso soldando y haciendo cosas, pues la verdad con los trenes tienes mucho que divertirte, muchas cosas que hacer con las manos, muchas cosas de escenografía, incluso carpintería, electricidad, muy completo.
Muy completo.
Y él ve bien el futuro, ¿no?
Y la conexión con la electrónica y con los apps y todo eso, porque el mundo de CC te abre esa dimensión de la electrónica que de esta generación les encanta. Hacer apps, manejar decoders, como decía él, programar decoders, todo eso ayuda a que la gente se conecte. Más también media y videos. O sea, a los chicos les gusta hacer videos en YouTube y compartir datos. Entonces, este es un hobby espectacular.
Así es. Esperemos compartir un poco de nuestros programas para que todas estas nuevas generaciones se inspiren. Yo sé que por ahí de repente nos han dejado varios comentarios, jóvenes menores de edad, que siempre nos piden ayuda de dónde comprar, cómo le hago, y la verdad eso ayuda y pues bueno, es parte del objetivo de que hacemos, ¿no? Compartir el hobby, y como lo dicen en inglés mucho, share the hobby, cuéntale a un amigo, todo esto, pues bueno, es parte de lo que hacemos.
There's actually a video, you have to do some digging to find it, but there's a video on YouTube by a person from Yale, a professor, Yale fellow, whatever. And he says model trains is the ideal hobby because of the extent of what the skills and the type of thinking that you have to do. It's the ideal hobby to prepare a youngster for our modern high-tech world. And, you think about DCC, you think about everything going on with Arduinos and animation, there's different, robotics is a popular area. Well, there's a lot of robotics, animation, little servos, and Arduinos, and, all of this stuff. You can explore that to your heart's content with the hobby. And, thanks to things like cell phones and improvements in battery technology, battery-powered trains is right on the horizon. Then we've got things like 3D printing, modern LED technology. You can create amazing lighting effects.
Yeah.
Your scenes and in your locomotives, and it just, the list just goes on and on and on of all kinds of high-tech things to do with model railroading. And as this guy from Yale says, it makes model trains the perfect hobby for preparing youngsters for to be a productive citizen in a high-tech society. So.
And the other thing, Joe, very, very important too, is the connection with the history too. They need to go and search. I see it in my son. He wants to weather a locomotive and go and look for pictures and the places and look, how was the soil, the dirt, the environment. It's super, super complete this hobby.
Así es, vamos a buscar ese video. Comenté de un video de alguien, de un profesor de Yale, que comenta que el hobby es de los mejores para preparar a tus hijos, porque habla de muchas cosas, de la parte técnica, lo que sea Arduino, el futuro, y es una herramienta básica, la robótica. Yo lo veo así, y hay muchas facetas, como lo dije. Hay el ferromodelista que le gusta la escenografía, el que hace decoders, el que hace iluminación, el que hace casas, entonces es muy diverso.
Sí.
Y realmente muy bien.
¿Y cómo te conecta al mundo?
Así es.
¿Cómo te conecta al mundo? Es muy, muy bueno.
Another one is in education circles. There's a lot of talk about this thing called STEM, S-T-E-M, science, technology, engineering, and math, and how important it is to make sure that kids get a well-balanced education in those subjects. And we like to say, add artistic to that, and call it STEAM, S-T-E-A-M. So, yeah, that's and actually the acronym STEAM is gaining traction in scholarly educational circles where they're talking about how to teach the next generation. So model railroading is great because it covers all of those areas. And what better acronym for model trains than STEAM, huh?
Correct. That's amazing.
Sí, realmente la educación y tantas cosas que podemos hablar, beneficios. Joe, thank you very much. This was very, very nice to share with you, and we're going to share all with many people who speak Spanish, and they're going to love it. They're going to love the Master Train TV, the videos, everything. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm thrilled that you guys thought enough to invite me. So thanks.
¿Algo más, Martín, para despedirnos antes de él? ¿No?
Okay.
So, see you later, Joe. Entonces, ok. Pues muchas gracias. Muy interesante. Realmente yo había conocido algo de su layout de la casa. Muy, muy, muy bonito y todo. Y me acordé de un meme que vi en la mañana. Haz de cuenta, imagínate una foto del layout de Joe y decía, si me hubiera imaginado cuánto costaba todo esto, hubiera escogido las drogas. Algo así. Lo hacían en el buen sentido de que un buen layout lleva años, tiempo y dinero.
Sí,
entonces,
y nunca se termina. O sea,
exacto.
Realmente ese layout, él dice que es viejo y, o sea, dámelo a mí, así como está,
sí,
viejo
pero
nada.
Porque... como son de minuciosos nuestros amigos americanos, decir que es viejo es perfecto para nosotros.
Es increíble.
Luego por ahí tenemos planeado a lo mejor hacer algunos recorridos de algunas maquetas que hay en México y no sé si en Australia o algo, donde vamos a ver la diversidad. Hay muy buenos trabajos, hay gente que lo dedica muy bien y lleva años y esfuerzo, entonces ya tendremos temas para largo. Nada más quiero adelantar un poquito el siguiente, ya nos pasamos un poco de nuestra hora, pero siempre es como
siempre. Nunca podemos.
El próximo programa va a estar alguien de Train World, para todos los que siempre han tenido preguntas de dónde compro, cómo compro y por qué comprar. Váyanse preparando, va a estar muy bueno, va a estar con nosotros la gente de Train World y vamos a ver qué podemos hablar con ellos, qué ofertas nos tienen, qué hay para el mercado latino, los envíos, los pagos. Y por ahí, perdón, se quedó una pregunta al aire que decían algo de las captcha de la página del MRH. yo también tuve problemas, es algo muy técnico, no se le quise preguntar a Joe, porque comentó que hay una persona del equipo especial que nos
Sí.
ayuda. Ya después me contacto al tocayo Calderón para comentarle esto, pero sí, yo algún día también tuve los mismos problemas, pero es ya muy técnico y preferí mejor no hacérsela yo y ya lo vamos a ver con alguien de sistemas que nos dijo que ahí lo apoyan.
Sí, no. Realmente muy bueno, también esperando la próxima con Train World para toda esta cantidad de acceso que tenemos hoy en día, de dónde comprar ciertas cosas, y para poner un poco un cable a tierra, ¿no? Digamos, con un vendedor. Pero realmente qué privilegio, otra vez, Eduardo, o sea, realmente lo que la gente que estamos teniendo acceso gracias a este pequeño canal y compartiendo
Sí, y sobre todo de gente que es muy, muy experta.
Sí.
Y la verdad siempre hemos encontrado buena recepción. Creo que los que están en esto saben que el mercado grande es Estados Unidos y Europa, el mercado económico, pero no nos dejan afuera. Sabemos que no tenemos el mismo poder adquisitivo, pero siempre están dispuestos a ayudar y desde Shane, que lo vieron en Scale Trends, a todos realmente se agradece. Y pues bueno, pues buenos días allá, Martín. Prepárate, pues si llega la tormenta, ¿no? Continúa en el lockdown.
Sí, fíjate que no, sigue de oscuro y bueno, ¿qué va a hacer? No pude, sabía que iba a tener este problema, que necesitaba comprar una luz, pero no pude salir a comprarla. O sea, quedó feo, pero bueno.
Sí, igual así conseguí las mías. Pero bueno, gracias a los que nos vieron, este canal, este video se va a quedar grabado en los canales, ya también lo van a ver luego en el de Martín. Cualquier comentario, todo, se los agradecemos y pues muchas gracias.
Hasta luego, nos vemos en la próxima.
Hasta luego.